Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 versus 1 cast. We have got a match that I'm very excited to cast, as I didn't get a chance to watch it live. It's going to be a very high level Terran versus PROTOSS. And the PROTOSS is none other than Liquid Clem. One of the best Terran players, arguably the best Terran player in the world right now, taking on GuMiho in what is a pretty big tournament, Home Story Cup 26. So we've got him off racing, confident enough in his PROTOSS to put it all on the line in a best of 5 against an incredibly good Terran player. So we're just going to have to see how this match is going to go between the two of them. I'm excited for it. And it is a full-on best of 5, so all the matches will be cast here in this one video. I don't often do these best of 5s, ladies and gentlemen. They're pretty darn long. They take a lot of time for a YouTube video every day. So go ahead and click that like button. If we can hit 50 likes on this video, that would be amazing, as I know it's not my usual bread and butter, but also leave a comment down below. Just let me know what you think about Clem off racing, or type absolute gibberish, as it does help with the YouTube algorithm. For now, though, we've got Clem coming in with a probe. We're going to see how aggressive he'll be this match. He's going for a Cybercore opening, probably a Cybercore expand. There it is. And then just scouting out with his probe. He's a pretty well-versed PROTOSS player, being a nuisance, blocking GuMiho's depot. And yeah, Clem, I think, said himself during Home Story Cup, I caught part of it, that he was like 6'6" or 6'7" on the ladder, which is pretty darn high. It's obviously not as high as his Terran, but still very darn good. And Clem, of course, playing PROTOSS, or playing Terran most of the time, has got a very good understanding of how PROTOSS works. That's why one of my favorite matchups to play as PROTOSS is PvT, because I play Terran. So it definitely helps. And so, yeah, we're just going to wait and see. GuMiho going for an expansion. I'm wondering if Clem's got anything dirty planned in particular. Who knows? Maybe he's going to try and macro. We do have a Twilight Council opening, so maybe it's going to be Adepts. Stalkers would be the safest and most conventional bet. Meanwhile, GuMiho is actually going for double Reaper Hellion. Triple Reaper Hellion, as he's already got one out. This is going to potentially be able to catch some of Clem's units. We'll see if Clem's playing it safe enough to respond to this. His scout did see the factory going down, so he should know that this is a possibility for the young world champion. He should be aware that he's got to be careful with this Adept, because soon enough there's going to be multiple Reapers out, which can micro against Adepts. So Clem, he's pushing on in, but there it is. 2 more Reapers show on up, so Clem is just going to have to make the best of a bad situation. He dives on top of the Reapers. He's going to get one, then shades out with the Adept, which is actually a very good trade for the PROTOSS. Seeing as how he was outnumbered and outgunned, he was able to trade 1 Adept for 2 Reapers to thin out that early game commitment that GuMiho made. For a single Adept is not bad, as long as he can defend against any further aggression. Clem positions ahead of things, getting in the way of those Reapers and Hellions, preventing them from diving on in. We've got GuMiho behind this, just making Marines and a siege tank and a Medivac. So GuMiho is potentially going to be going for a bit of a tank push behind this. We'll see. He's going to take the time to repair up his Hellions, as it doesn't cost too much. Although he does actually get those SCVs back to work, but then he decides to pull them back onto the Hellions. His urge to macro was a little bit too strong there. We have got Blink on the way for Clem, so he is going for that conventional opening with multiple Stalkers now being warped in, Blink being researched. The main variations with this build as PROTOSS is how many gateways are they going to produce, and the answer is 2 gateways with a third just finishing up for Clem. So 3 gates into an expansion is kind of the middle route as far as safety and greed goes for the Protoss. Clem's going to have some production. He does lose into depth to those Hellions. He at least gets one of the Hellions in exchange. GuMiho will find that probe that was scouting, though, and all of a sudden, GuMiho wasn't going for a push. He was going for a drop into the main base. Clem is going to have to respond to this. He blinks on top of the tank. He's going to get that. We'll see if he can get the medevac or at least some of the Marines, and the answer is he's going to get at least, I mean, he gets all the Marines, the total cleanup. The Hellions and Reaper jump into the natural base of Clem. They do get cleaned up, though. So all in all, 6 dead probes for, I mean, the 2 Hellions, the Reaper, a tank, and 4 Marines. That's not terrible for the Protoss, because that's going to really knock down GuMiho's army supply for a little bit. The Terran player behind this, I mean, he's just getting his 2nd and 3rd racks now, which is quite delayed. And so Clem has got free reign for the next couple minutes in this match to do what he wants. He is going to try and bully GuMiho a little bit. We'll see how well this Terran player utilizes Blink Stalkers. I mean, he's going for the tank. He's actually going to get it, it looks like. Beautiful play by Clem. Snipes GuMiho's siege tank for free. He doesn't lose a single Stalker. That is a huge play. He's now blinking into the natural, going to grab a couple SCVs, and then presumably just get out. He may take a refinery down with him. That's something that GuMiho's going to have to take the time to rebuild. He's going to force a cancel on a depot. He's got to avoid that siege tank. GuMiho will want to target the injured Stalkers. Clem pulls the injured ones to the back of the line. He's boxed into a corner by the siege tank. He can't walk out by it, so he's just going to wait for Blink to come off cooldown probably, and then make his escape utilizing that, and that's exactly what he does. We've got a scan going down for GuMiho that kills off the Observer. That's quite nice. Meanwhile, I mean, 3 SCVs going down there. Another Observer coming on in. That's going to force another scan out of GuMiho. Clem is eyeing up the main base, but I think he's a little scared of the siege tank. There's quite a few Marines there. I'm not sure if he's going to go for it. GuMiho sees these Stalkers creeping inside his base. Clem doesn't seem to be committing to this. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, Raven is dropping auto turrets. There's also a medevac dropping into the main base of Clem, so GuMiho looking for some counter damage. He's gonna get at least a few probes with this Raven. It's already up to 2 kills. Clem pulls back the injured workers, though. Marines are now in the main base. Clem may have to recall to deal with this. Probes are running. This is a lot of damage getting done to the young world champion. That pylon, and PROTOSS pylon, is going to be depowered, so that's going to delay his +1, delay a lot of his warp gate production. Clem tries to trap those Marines and get on top of the medevac, but medevacs with boost are pretty darn fast. Another auto turret getting dropped. Clem's got to respond to that. GuMiho is a master of this early to mid-game harassment, and so he's kind of just trying to pick Clem apart. We'll see if Clem can mitigate the damage, and whether Clem is going to be able to build up enough of an army to contend with all the bio that GuMiho is building. I mean, I know a minute ago I said GuMiho doesn't have that much production, but now he does have those racks going. He's managed to build up a good chunk of bio that's going to have stim momentarily. It's going to have +1 in about 30 seconds-ish. And that means Clem's going to have to contend with stim bio when really all he's got is charge lots and Stalkers, which doesn't seem to work against these Pro-Terrans all that often for Protoss at the moment. Clem has to blink away these Stalkers. He loses 1, gets at least a Marine in exchange, but this is still a little bit concerning for the blue Protoss. Clem does at least have a 4th base finished up, so he's going to have a very strong economy to see if he can weather this storm. And GuMiho did just finish up his 3rd base, so that's quite delayed. The Prism is going to try and buy a bit of time. Clem juking out GuMiho as he moves that Prism back and forth, utilizing that speedy Prism. And he drops the Zealots, just playing with GuMiho a little bit. GuMiho is all over the map still. But yeah, Clem, he's going to have a very strong economy. He's getting out a Colossus now. He's bought himself some time with this Prism harassment, actually unloading some of those Zealots. He's going to get a Marauder or 2 maybe. As long as the Prism gets out, then that's not a bad trade at all. Clem is actually not planning on getting out. He's actually just going for the throat. Stalkers managed to pick off 1 siege tank on the front. Meanwhile, all these Zealots got warped into the main. I'm not sure how well they're going to do for themselves. Widow Mines are staying alive as GuMiho micros those units, so Clem throws away quite a few gateway units. Behind this, though, he does at least have that Colossus done with a 2nd one on the way, +2 attack being researched. So he is going to have a bit of an upgrade timing. +2 on those is going to be very important. GuMiho is knocking down these rocks and actually going to be looking to potentially push Clem now. He's got Vikings out, which are an answer to the Colossus. He's got Stimmed Bio, which is better than what Clem has, which is gateway units, as long as the Vikings can deal with the Colossus. And it looks like Clem's actually a mad lad and is just going to charge on in. I'm not sure about that engagement, though, as the Colossus gets zoned out by the Vikings. Looks like all the Vikings did get picked off in that fight, though, which is going to allow this Colossus to stay alive longer. There was a tank sieged up for GuMiho, though. GuMiho's got a massive army supply lead. Clem's just going to take this engagement, charge on in. He really is very gung-ho. Colossus are getting some big swipes off. They don't have extended thermal lance, though, but good force fields do help zone out some of that. Clem is pulling back while this is going on. Warp again, more zealots to buffer. The Colossus are dealing lots of damage to this bio on top of the stim. The lack of extended thermal lance is definitely hurting Clem. He's lucky to have his Colossus still alive. Looks like that Observer allows him to pick off the 2 Widowmines. Clem is barely staying alive during this as he walks a razor's edge. He's moving out with 4 Stalkers. We'll see what he can do. He blinks them back individually. That is Clem's incredibly fine micro. GuMiho, realizing he may have a bit of a hard time breaking Clem here, is actually going to send a triple drop to the main base. Lots of bio going to be able to unload here. We'll see if Clem reacts in time or whether he is going to be in a very dangerous position as GuMiho charges towards the 4th base with some of his bio while this is going on. So a drop in the main. Clem's got to split his forces properly to deal with this. GuMiho's going to target down the Nexus in the main base. Clem is just going to try and deal with the army on the right side. He's kind of ignoring the one in his main, which, I mean, it's nice to ignore your problems, but he loses 3 gateways that are no longer powered. That's a lot of production, and I think Clem's plan is just to try and take this as far as he can to go and get counter damage done to GuMiho. GuMiho doesn't have that many reinforcements back at home to deal with this, so he's going to have to run, but Clem does elect to go for a recall, leaving 1 Colossus and a couple Zealots on the other side of the map, but that is not ideal for the French Protoss player. He took a lot of damage. GuMiho is going to get that Colossus for the expense of maybe 1 Marauder. Clem should be able to clean up this army. We'll see if he can get the Medivacs and trap this bio. The Marauders are very overstimmed. Looks like 1 of the Medivacs goes down. Only 3 Marauders escape in that. GuMiho, though, still has got quite a nice army. Lots more bio being produced, but Clem holds on. He did kind of panic GuMiho a little bit with that counterattack, but still, the red Terran players had a very nice supply. Clem somehow manages to get up a 5th base during all this chaos, though, as GuMiho secures up his 4th. I'm still a bit concerned by the army of the Protoss. It's very zealot heavy. GuMiho is making Vikings, which can, counter those pretty well. I would like to see a few more Vikings out of GuMiho. 6 is nice, but against 3 Colossus, I think you may want a few more than that. We've got GuMiho going for another drop inside the main base. Clem lost his main base Nexus. He didn't rebuild it. He repowered some of the gateways, but all of a sudden, here's another drop going. We'll see Clem's approach to try and deal with that is to actually just attack on in again, and this bio is quite stimmed and separated, eating some big Colossus swipes. Meanwhile, in the main base, Clem, he just kind of ignores the Marauders once again. He's got 1 Colossus, a Zealot, and a Stalker trying to deal with these Marauders, but with another big Zealot warp in, that's going to really help out against literally just these Marauders of GuMiho, and he actually does shut that down. Meanwhile, on the right side, GuMiho, I think, ran some of his bio over there. Or, don't know if that was SCVs that just got killed, but still, GuMiho not taking the best trades and actually having his army be whittled down. I think his macro has been disrupted a little bit just by all the chaos all over the map. Vikings are going to do what they can against the Colossus. Clem has been good at targeting them down, though, and he zones them out with a blink. And I think GuMiho may just be going down in match number 1 as Clem's army is here and, it's here, and there's no response from GuMiho. Somehow, I don't even know how Clem pulls that one out. That was just incredibly impressive. It really was just, I think GuMiho almost couldn't believe that Clem wasn't responding to the drops, and so that gave Clem a lot more muscle, of course, to push. Clem realizing, nope, you can't just try and put out the fires, you gotta start some of your own on the Terran side of the map. And so we will go ahead and load on into the next match. We're going to see whether it will let me just click right on that or I'll cut the video because they did release a new Starcraft patch the other day. And that could have potentially broken replays. So yeah, I'm going to have to sign in again. So I'll cut the video from here on out. Okay, so here we are into game number 2. It's going to be none other than Clem once more up in the series, taking match number 1 against GuMiho. GuMiGod, whatever you want to call him. He was looking really good in the early game, and then he just didn't deal with Clem's army well enough, I guess. Like, that was a really great call by Clem, just to ignore the drops, which is usually 9 times out of 10 the opposite of what you want to do. But Clem realized, if I split my army, I'm not going to win on either side, so he just chose to push instead of to deal with the harassment. So we're on ley lines for match number 2. GuMiho has got Arax on the way on his side of the map. Meanwhile, Clem is just going for a gateway on his side too. So respectable opening and a respectable macro game. Clem showing us how good his PROTOSS is. And then GuMiho he was definitely leading in part of that match. So we'll see what Clem's going to try to do in this match. It seems like another fairly large map. So who knows, maybe Clem can macro up once more. Probe scouting, though, to see what the Terran's up to. Clem saying, oh, I know what you're doing. As he has played enough Terran games to kind of have that game sense that you can read very well what your opponent is doing as the other race. So Clem shouldn't really be caught too much by surprise in this series by GuMiho. We've got a Cyber Core on the way now for Clem, as he goes for that Cyber Core into Nexus, which is a very notable opening change, because the gateway into Cyber Core is just too late to have out those early Adepts, that kind of thing. And it's important when you've got a guy like GuMiho who did open up with Mass Reapers, Hellions early on. And so that first Adept being chrono boosted on out for Clem. And while he's getting that second gas set up, we'll see if it's going to be for a Twilight Council or a Stargate. Clem, unsurprisingly, enjoyed making lots of gateway units that match. It seems that that's a style that Terran off-racers like to play, which is the mass blink stalkers, mass charge lots, just the sort of skirmish style. And we'll see if Clem's going to play that way once more. GuMiho has his command center safely on the high ground, not even considering putting it on the low ground, it seems. He says, nope, I'll just play the safe route. Takes 5 seconds to float it down there. It is no big deal. Now, a starport's on the way for GuMiho as well, so a 1-1-1. And Clem is out on the map with his Adept, shading around. He's going to shade up that ramp. He's already seen the command center building on the high ground. Meanwhile, GuMiho is just completely in the dark this match. He hasn't scouted at all. He's not made a Reaper. He's just blindly setting up, producing a Cyclone, making Marines. That Medivac, or that Starport's now done, so he can fire up a Medivac. Clem completes that Adept shade, has a bit of the paint scratched off it. And GuMiho gonna have to micro against these Adepts. Has a few of the Marines softened up, but doesn't lose one, which is very important. Clem doesn't lose any of the shields on his Adepts either, but he's got to be very careful. If that Cyclone gets a lock on one of these Adepts, that's going to be really problematic, and I think it's going to. So one of those Adepts is for sure dead. The other just has to shade on out of there. So Clem being a little bit too aggressive there. Come on, Clem. You should have known GuMiho could have had a Cyclone at this point in the match. And now GuMiho going to elect to go for a drop. 7 Marines in all. 3 of them are softened up a little bit from that early Adept poke, which isn't ideal. But who knows how much damage GuMiho can get done here as that Medivac boosts across the map. Behind this, the Terran player is getting up his extra racks, so no fast third from GuMiho. He just wants to have his bio production online. Blink is on the way for Clem, but it's not yet done. These Marines are unloading inside that main base. The simple Terran drop, just 7 Marines inside a Medivac. Probes are running for Clem. He hasn't lost one just yet. He pulls the Stalkers and the Adepts inside that main base to help try and chase this away. And it's all going to come down to the micro here. 7 Marines does have some potential. GuMiho is not lifting up the injured Marines. He just kills an Adept and gets on out of there. And then just, yeah, goes into full-blown production here as he's got a tank done. Stim pack on the way, 5 Marines at a time being produced. This Terran is building up to mean business, so Clem's going to have to get ready for some potential aggression coming his way. He does at least have Blink done, though, so he can try and bully GuMiho before the Terran player is ready to move on out. Because Clem does only have like a minute or 2 here before GuMiho is going to want to push out. Stalkers almost get a Cyclone, but not quite. That Cyclone just having pretty much 1 HP and getting on out of there. Clem warps in some more Stalkers. That tank positioning for GuMiho is good so far, though. He's actually going to blink on top of that tank, which is a very risky decision. He loses, I think it was 2 Stalkers there. And let's see, he does get a Depot 2. Good micro on those Stalkers. And then an aggressive blink forward to bait out the Stim. The Prism shuffling the Stalkers while they're on cooldown from Blink. They should be coming off cooldown from Blink as Clem pulls those units back. Baiting the Stim out of GuMiho is so huge. He's got to avoid the tank, though, and he just narrowly does. Clem showing us that whether it's Terran or Protoss units, his micro is next level. And now he's circling around, going to be looking for any pickoffs. There's a tank. He just blinks right on top of it, and he's going to get it. Saving the Stalkers with the Prism. Is he eyeing up the main base now? The mad lad. GuMiho has got lots of bio, though, so he is going to stim on top of this. We'll see if Clem can get a reactor or a couple Marines. The answer is a few Marines, and we're seeing some incredible Stalker value. GuMiho's now going to stim towards the 3rd base. There isn't much here to defend this. I guess he actually must have shot this up a little bit earlier, and he's actually going to kill off so many probes with this drop. 4, 5 probes. Few Stalkers do respond to this, but Clem's got a warp in another. It's actually a slow warp in due to the pylon placement being a little too far to the right. That's actually going to cost Clem dearly. Meanwhile, now GuMiho is seizing the momentum and looking to push across the map, it seems. Waiting on top of this ramp for the Stalkers. Clem's got to micro them back. He does do that still, but they're all very bruised, and it's only going to be a minute or 2 before GuMiho gets here. Can Clem muster a defense? He's got charge that should be getting chrono boosted out whenever possible. Stalkers are moving out, gonna try and buy some time for Clem. They're so bruised up. One of them just gets picked off pretty much right away. And now GuMiho's looking to move across the map. Some of those Marines are trading with the Stalkers, but a lot more of them are just pushing that 3rd base. There is High Templar in this Prism, but there is no Psystorm done yet for Clem. It seems the timings are just about 30 seconds off for the blue Protoss player. I'm not sure what the issue is, but I don't know if he's going to be able to stop this Terran army. Does he have a battery at the natural? The answer is no. Does he have Psystorm yet? The answer is it's 10 seconds away, and now this Terran army is sieged up at his natural. Clem's just going to have to hug the wall. All the upgrades are about to finish up for the Terran. He's 15 seconds from charge. Psystorm just finished up. There's High Templar that can be loaded up into this Prism. He's got to be so careful, though. The 3rd base is still alive. Clem's leading in workers. There's a world which he cleans this up and is able to just potentially win the game. We got Psystorms going on down, forcing these Marines back. Some of them are pretty darn good Psystorms. The Stalkers are not microing back. The Prism that was actually allowing reinforcements to be warped in gets targeted down by GuMiho. GG gets typed, and GuMiho takes the match. But yeah, that Prism warping in the units, I guess because there was no pylon done. And yeah, GuMiho, great opportunity to realize that he can snipe that Prism down, and he does. Because if those Zealots finish warping in, maybe they buffer for the next Archon. That Archon finishes. That was a very close hold. Closer than I thought it would be. I thought GuMiho had it in the bag easily, but Clem still made it a fight. So we'll load on into the next match. All right, here we are in match number 3 on Frostline. It's going to be Clem taking on GuMiho. Match number 3. And yeah, GuMiho looked pretty darn good in that previous match. He did everything right. Knowing the timings you got to hit as the Terran, because, I mean, Clem, if he was given another even 10 seconds, things would have potentially looked scary for GuMiho, because like Clem, he was at 60 workers. GuMiho was at much fewer than that. And so we'll see if it's going to be something similar this match. Who knows? Maybe Clem's going to get a bit more cheesy. I do feel like Clem is probably going to keep playing with charge lots and blink stalkers, because that seems to be his bread and butter with this Protoss style. And I believe in the entire Home Story Cup tournament, Clem didn't off race until he decided to play PROTOSS in the finals, which is very impressive. And so, yeah, we've got a probe scout going down for Clem. I like it. You got a scout, or you might get cheesed. And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, go ahead, click that like button if you haven't already. Leave a comment down below. And if you do enjoy this commentary, go ahead and click that sub button, as I put out videos every day. It's not bot videos today, because I do love pro Starcraft, that's for sure. So I couldn't turn down the opportunity to cast something as unique as the best player in the world off racing. Oh, Clem actually gets his probe trapped inside the main base, as GuMiho says, "You're getting locked in here with me, buddy." So that poor probe is like, oh no, what do I do? Clem's like, this isn't part of the plan. The probe's supposed to get out, so you pretty much just be as much of a jerk as possible until that Reaper inevitably kills that probe. And oh, he's actually going to recall it. Did GuMiho see that? I think GuMiho caught a glimpse of the recall, which is honestly a bit of a shame, because if you're going to do that as the PROTOSS player, I think Clem might have thought he was out of range, but it's a shame because... Oh, okay, no, GuMiho didn't catch a glimpse of that. He's like, is that probe still alive, or did it build a pylon or anything? No, because you want the Terran to waste time looking for that. Instead, GuMiho, he's got his Reaper barreling across the map. An Adept Shade is going to finish as the positioning battle begins. Clem knows what it's like to be on the other side of this now. I like how there's a windsock next to a building that will block the wind. Which doesn't make a ton of sense, but anyway, we have got the Reaper coming on in now for GuMiho. Softening up some of these probes. Clem has to pull one back, but oh, he gets played a little bit, and that's actually going to cost him one probe. There's two Adepts out, so we'll see if Clem can secure the kill, but no, GuMiho is going to jump up, then jump on out of there. Clem is going to send the Adept around, hoping to catch this Reaper, but I think GuMiho is going to get out of there with his trophy, one probe kill. Starport is about to finish up for GuMiho as he opens up with a 1-1-1 once more. Getting out that Cyclone, making his Marines command center on the high ground, playing it very safe. And Clem is just going into that blink opening once more. It really is his standard bread and butter. We'll see if GuMiho can, or if Clem can maybe get some more damage done. Like, his Stalker micro has been phenomenal in the first two matches, so I imagine it's going to be the same for Clem. So we'll see if he can maybe just get some more value or something. Anticipate pressure by GuMiho a little more. We do have the Cyclone and a Reaper moving out on the map. The Cyclone's strength in the early game is that it can catch individual PROTOSS units, so it really prevents PROTOSS from just walking around all over the place. And this may be its first kill as it manages to find an Adept. Clem's going to target on the Reaper, but is unable to kill it. So that is quite nice for GuMiho. He's just being a bit of a bully with these units. There's that Medivac flying across the map, this time loaded with 8 Marines, pardon me. So Clem's going to have to respond to that. He's got one Adept repositioning inside the main base. There is the 2 Stalkers as well. 8 Marines is no joke, though, so Clem's going to have to micro against this. GuMiho does see the presence of 3 Stalkers and gets on out of there, though. A great scan by GuMiho is going to catch Clem's Observer. Clem does have a second one building, but that is still very, very nice for the Red Terran players. That's going to keep Clem in the dark. And as we all know, knowledge is power. I love this move by GuMiho, sieging up his tank very far forward, hoping to catch an early move out by Clem with his Stalkers, and he may actually do just that. As he unsieges just at the wrong time, unfortunately. And those Stalkers will get pushed back, though. GuMiho is coming across the map with a very early push. Killing the Observer early on meant that Clem didn't have as much of an advanced warning that this was coming. A massive forward blink by Clem allows him to pick off the one Medivac. I don't think that cost him a single Stalker either. So an incredible move there, taking out a lot of the muscle in this army of GuMiho. The Cyclone goes down as well. The 2 tanks do fire and kill off one of the Stalkers immediately since it wasn't on full shields. GuMiho does elect to go on home with this force, though, but Clem's aggressive blinks are so darn ballsy. One stalker is moving out on the map. Maybe looking for this army as Clem is going to potentially bypass it and look for some damage. There is charge that's researching for the Terran player. It's going to allow him to have those muscly boys buffering for his stalkers potentially. And the army of GuMiho isn't looking that ferocious right now as he waits for his production to really get into full swing. That's going to make his force much more strong. But oh man, did GuMiho kill the second observer? He did. So Clem's just now getting another observer across the map. That is such a nuisance for the PROTOSS player. Of course, it does burn money for the Terran in scans. But look at this, GuMiho even investing in a missile turret. I like it. We've got that observer flying right into the range of the turret. Clem realizes that though and is going to reposition it. GuMiho sees this observer. He's going to kill it. 4 shots from a Viking takes down an obs. And once more, Clem's going to be like, okay, I'll send out another observer across the map. As far as resource-wise goes, it's actually a good trade for the PROTOSS because a mule nets a Terran. I think it's like 250, 225 resources, which is more than an observer costs. But at the same time, the lack of information really hurts the poor PROTOSS. We've got one probe hanging out here. It may be able to find those Vikings, which are seemingly looking for something. +1 is about to finish up for Clem. He's got that 4th base on the way. A very respectfully timed 4th. The 2 Vikings and the Medivac are out on the map, so Clem's got to be careful. I keep looking at the Terran units, and I'm like, all right, there's the Terran Clem. And it's like, nope, Clem is the PROTOSS player. GuMiho is the Terran player here. We've got triple batteries going up at all his bases. Clem is really respecting the harassment. A scan goes down at the 4th. Zealots are repositioning, though, to intercept this. That's going to send that Medivac running. Stalkers are in pursuit. GuMiho probably will be able to get away with this, though, but Clem is really trying to chase it down. We'll take a look at that blink cooldown. It is off cooldown now. There's the Medivac. Is it going to be caught? GuMiho reacts in time, tucks it into the safe space in the corner. Brilliant play by GuMiho, keeping that Medivac alive. We've got the Terran player sieging up on top of a ramp, denying Clem's push. This is Clem doing what Clem does best, what off-racing Terrans like to do, utilizing charge lots, utilizing stalkers. Clem does eat some big tank shots, avoiding some Widowmine shots, though. And he does kill off 6 SCVs with a big Zealot warp and make that 8, 10 SCVs. More Zealots are warping on in. There's Widowmines that have got some shots off, but the Zealots are going to clean them up. That's quite nice. We've got the Zealots not maybe doing as much as they could, as a few were sitting idle and attacking a refinery. The Prism then moves to the main base. GuMiho is knocked down to 39 workers. The Prism's going to be recalled by Clem to keep it alive. And now Clem really just needs to play for a bit of time, as given a couple minutes, his army will be bigger than GuMiho because he's got a massive economic lead at this point. 4 bases to 3, 68 workers to 39. Clem's got to be careful with his army positioning, though. GuMiho's barely mining at his 3rd base at all. He's really just all in with this push, so the PROTOSS player just needs to make units. He needs to defend. Clem is about to have out a 2nd Colossus. No extended thermal lance yet, though. But oh man, here comes that Terran army. The tanks are sieging up. Clem's actually just going to elect to go for it. He picks off one of the siege tanks. The Zealots are really charging forward. There's the last of the tanks is going to go down. The Zealots have done a great job buffering for this, and GuMiho's army is getting cut up. Clem actually takes game number 3. Wow. GG. Okay, here we are into game number 4. Clem actually taking the lead in this best of 5 is very, very impressive. And we're going to see if he can do it, as his charge lot blink style, I think, is pretty darn good. But whether GuMiho is going to potentially adjust his play to counter it, who knows? Maybe it would be best for GuMiho to play late game here, as I mean, I don't honestly know how good of a map Amygdala is for that, but say if he went for like a 3rd command center opening and then just massed up a few tanks. I say just, like it's easy to play against Clem like that, but I do think later gameplay might benefit him. GuMiho, though, is looking to go for some early game aggression, and this could be the one. But Clem does go for a probe scout. It's going to cross the map. And so he may get a bit of a heads up that this is a proxy Rax, but still he's going to have to defend it. Fortunately, Clem has consistently gone for Cybercore into Nexus, not Nexus, or not Gateway Nexus, because that opening is much weaker against this. So Clem, he's going to come up, he's going to say, oh man, GuMiho, come on. What are you doing, man? Clem, he's going to build that Cybercore, still get up as a Nexus, because there's not much you can do against the inevitable Reaper that arrives slightly earlier. You just got to get ready to pull your probes. And so we have got Clem just building the pylon in front of that Nexus, scouting around. Interestingly enough, he sets that on patrol, which is a little bizarre. I guess just putting this on bunker watch, making sure GuMiho is not trying to build a bunker near this Nexus. That's an interesting approach to that. But that's the beauty of Starcraft 2. You gotta love these little things. That one SCV on its way home finds the probe and decides to actually start stabbing and chasing it. We'll see if GuMiho is gonna chase that probe down all the way. No, he does let it go. And there's that Reaper inside the main base. It's already started shooting up some of the probes. The Stalker is on the way, but Clem, he's got to pull back the injured ones, allow the shield to regen on the others, and just really buy time. That Reaper, it got the one probe that it's supposed to kill. That Reaper is not supposed to get, well, maybe 2 at most, but 1 or none, assuming the toss micros that perfectly. So well done by Clem, playing to the standard. GuMiho, he's got another command center building in his main base. It seems he's just incorporated this into his standard play. And we've got a Twilight Council now going up for Clem. So this PROTOSS player likes his blink and his charge lots. No Stargates just yet. I do worry that for a longer series, like a best of 5, that GuMiho may change his plans a little bit to adapt for this. Like, I don't know whether that's just playing more defensively, building a bunker at his 3rd or something, or what. Or just being more aggressive, because he did win being a little bit aggressive. Looks like that probe that was left to wander does actually get found. That's a bit unfortunate for Clem. What a big map this is, Amygdala. Meanwhile, Blink is on the way for Clem. Robo goes on up. So, probably just going to be that 3rd base coming up soon, as Clem goes for either a 2 or a 3 gate opening. It would be cool to see if he did go for like 4 or 8 gate blink, but I'm not sure we'll see that, as it's a little bit too scoutable, I think. As long as GuMiho checks the 3rd, then you go, oh hey, you're really getting aggressive with these blink stalkers. And that's exactly what GuMiho is doing right now, looking around. He's going to see those gateways at the front, have that Reaper be chased away, but he sees a lack of 3rd, at least at that location. Clem is getting his blink. No Chrono Boost actively going into that. But the young PROTOSS, well, young Terran, now playing PROTOSS player, should be getting up that 3rd soon enough. And there it is. Meanwhile, GuMiho has got his stim pack on the way. The Terran player has actually gone up to 4 racks already, rebuilding another one. So he is going to be going for quite a bit of early aggression, making use of that racks he built on the other side of the map and then flew home. So his production's going to be slightly higher than that of a 3 rack. So Clem's got to get ready for this, and he's got no indication that this is coming. So it's a bit of an interesting middle ground. It's not 5, it's not 3, but 4 racks from the Terran player. So Clem, we'll see if he's going to be able to maybe sniff this out, get ready for that aggression coming his way a little bit sooner than usual. His stim pack is about 40 seconds away. Charge for the PROTOSS is about 90 seconds away, so we got to keep eyes on that. Clem has got 1 observer. He hasn't lost any this game just yet. And he does see 1, 2 racks, but he's not exactly floating all over that main base, because you don't really want to give the observer away where it is. Reaper for GuMiho makes it towards that 3rd base location and actually gets yet another kill. And Adept is waiting, so it will get picked off. But that was 3 probe kills on the Reaper. That's a great success by Reaper standards. Stalkers immediately blink back as Clem wasn't really expecting that, but now GuMiho is coming on in. Chrono Boost is going down on that charge as Clem realizes that this Terran player is coming for him. Stalkers are going to try and buy time. Tanks, though, have slightly more range than Marines, which is why we always see tanks being the one to soften up the Stalkers. One Stalker almost goes down. Clem is just trying to whittle this Terran force down as much as possible, though. We do have Zealots being warped on in. Charge is 15 seconds away. GuMiho, he's going to want to get those tanks sieged on up before Clem can pounce on this army. That's exactly what he's going to do. One Stalker goes down to the Cyclone. Clem is just going to have to take this at face value as he gets ready to charge on in. Charge is done. I don't know if he's got enough stuff to clean this up. He does take out one of the tanks. The battery is also healing during this. Another Zealot warp-in comes on in. Two of the tanks do go down, but there is a lot of Terran here for GuMiho, and Clem is in a bit of trouble as he lost most of his Stalkers. He warps in a Sentry to try and help out. It's 18 army supply to 40, though. Clem's third is really under pressure. More charge lots are warped in, and Immortal is being produced. The PROTOSS has to abandon the third, but that is usually a very poor sign for the toss, as GuMiho is going to even want to take this further. There's no Medivacs with this push, which is why this is hitting so hard for GuMiho. He's just getting his starport online. Clem, I think, was caught a little bit off guard by the slightly stronger than usual Terran push. He's going to have to send in those Zealots, a force field, trying to allow the Zealots to get face value with the Marines, but everything is getting picked off. More Zealots can be warped in, but they're not going to trade any better. +1 just finishes up for Clem. GuMiho, he's got really no upgrades on his Marines other than Combat Shield and Stim. Looks like the Immortal does just about does get one of the tanks. The Zealots may get another one. It's actually quite close whether Clem can hold this or not. There's a Sentry, a Zealot, a couple Stalkers getting warped on in as Clem is trying to hold on 2 bases. He does have a third on the way, realizing he needs to replace the one that he lost. And more Zealots are warping on in for Clem. If he can just catch a portion of this Terran army, that's all that he needs, and he's actually realizing, I gotta go in before these reinforcements are done. He's gonna do just that. GuMiho is microing the Marines as well as he can, and Medivac's coming in to help out, and the Stalkers actually kind of abandoned that fight. So I think GuMiho took a bit of a better trade than he needed to, but all in all, Clem is holding on for now. The concern is, though, that he did lose that third base. Meanwhile, GuMiho has got his own third on the way now, but Terrans do much better on 2 bases than PROTOSS does, particularly PROTOSS playing this gateway style. Clem, though, does have +2 attack on the way. He's going to be able to saturate that third base fairly quickly once it's reestablished, and he's already getting that on the go. GuMiho is repositioning his army, looking to go for another push. Supply, though, it's 37-30, which isn't terrible for the toss. One Zealot goes down for free. That's not ideal. Good force fields for Clem, allowing him to catch some of the Marines. The Sentries are grouped up. The tank does shoot 2 of them. One more shot and they'll die. Clem splits them to minimize the tank shots, and then he does pick off the siege tank, which is quite nice. He's running for the hills with his army, though. There's no energy to save those Sentries. One of them goes down. The other goes down. That is a nice trade for the Terran player. Clem is moving forward with his Stalkers, bullying this bio, which I think he definitely needs to do at this point. I wouldn't mind warping in a couple more Stalkers, because the more Stims you force out, the more individual Marines you pick off, the weaker that Terran push is going to be when it does hit. Instead, Clem is actually just deciding to go for a push, and he blinks forward, tries to get a Medivac, but he doesn't really have the Stalker numbers, having only 3 with this army, but he does pull back. He's very aggressive. And let's see, Clem, he goes for a 4th base during all this chaos. He's got a Colossus on the way now. GuMiho, though, does have some really strong production. He's up to 6 racks now, while just getting the add-ons on 2 more racks. It's going to be a lot of Terran bio coming towards Clem, so having that AoE is going to be really important. Chrono Boost is going down on that Colossus, and Clem has managed to make a hold of this. He is on match point, and we have got a Nexus on the way. He's just got to be ready to receive this next attack, and it's not that much Terran bio. There's lots of Medivacs to support this army at GuMiho, but only 1 Widowmine. Meanwhile, +2 did just finish for Clem, and he's got eyes on this Terran army, so Clem is looking to set up an engagement. He is still short on Stalkers, having only 3, so GuMiho may be able to micro against this. We do see great force fields forcing some of this Terran army to be lifted up. Now the force fields are kind of working against Clem's charge lots a little bit. More Sentries are being warped on in, and GuMiho is getting pushed back, it seems. Even more force fields going down as those Sentries I mean, they're pretty much all out of energy, having dropped those mass force fields. It's like GuMiho's charging on in, picking off those high-value units, and he does exactly that. I think Clem really is hurt by his lack of stalkers in this situation, because he's trading out pretty much... He's lost 53 zealots. He's down on army supply for now. If he warped in a couple more stalkers, I feel he'd be getting slightly better trades, but then, of course, it's that fine line as the PROTOSS. Clem is staying alive, though. I mean, he's only behind 20 army supply, which is in the realm of acceptability for the PROTOSS player. GuMiho is setting up to go for a big drop. Clem repositions. There's a few more stalkers being warped on in. Looks like some zealots that were transferring do get caught. That's a nice find for GuMiho. At the same time, it does buy time for Clem. The Terran player is only on 3 bases. 2-1 upgrades are on the way. And Clem does have his +1 armor on the way, so upgrades will potentially even out. It will be a slight lead for GuMiho for a time, though, but this PROTOSS player, he's already got up 2 Colossus. Extended Thermal Lance is done. +2 attack is done for Clem. So those Colossus will deal extra damage. GuMiho is still just pumping out lots of bio behind this. He's now adding Vikings into the mix, and he's actually looking to go for a big drop towards the right-hand side. It's a very risky play. He really just repositioned that bio, taking the express route towards the right-hand side. One of Clem's Colossus is marching on the left side. GuMiho realizes that's a freebie. That is very painful for Clem, losing that critical unit. Stalkers do blink on the Vikings and take them out. We do have 1 battery here to heal up the units. Energy recharge does get used on that battery. Another one of the Colossus goes down. The last one is alive, getting swipes off. More zealots do get warped in. The problem is the Vikings are now uncontested, able to pick off that other Colossus slow and steadily, leaving Clem short on firepower. Blink stalkers against bio. So far, the PROTOSS player isn't dead just yet. He may have to abandon this base for the second time in this game, though. GuMiho is charging forward. Clem does lose the last of his units, and GG, just like that. After 12 minutes of fighting, GuMiho ties the series up 2-2, and that really was just off the back of finding that free Colossus. Maybe Clem could have held on, but he got done dirty by the pathing. StarCraft 2 pathing is unforgiving, and that's why you got to shepherd those units. But, yeah, that one Colossus, man, really let Clem down in that situation. Yeah, so, I don't know, Clem had his army here, and then he clicked. And then it starts to go over to the right, and the one Colossus is like, yeah, this is awesome. Let's go over here. And that cost him the game. Outload into the next and final match. Okay, here we are, ladies and gentlemen, into the final match of this best of 5. Clem versus GuMiho. It's been neck and neck between these two. The blue PROTOSS player, the French Terran player, by day, apparently PROTOSS charge lot rushing man by night. As Clem has shown us that he is a very darn good Terran player. And also a very good PROTOSS player. So, we are on Abyssal Reef, a blast from the past, an old map made new again, which I don't think was a terrible Terran map, just because of the potential tank pushes with like the rocks here and everything. So we'll see if Clem can maybe head that off from GuMiho. And really, all these matches have been super duper close, which is the exciting part. It's why that charge lot stalker style that Clem is playing is one of the more fun PROTOSS styles to play, because the fights can go either way. And they really have. We do have GuMiho going for a 1-1-1 here, it seems, as he takes his second gas. Clem is going to come on in with that probe and scout it out, most likely. Although that probe does get stabbed. Does Clem check for the second gas? Not right away. He comes back on in, though, being a nuisance. There we go. Now he goes and sees that second gas. He's like, oh, wait, no, he doesn't. He doesn't. He does see the second depot, which is a big red flag. So that depot alone should be enough to tip Clem off that it's going to be some early aggression. We've got a Nexus on the way for Clem. After Cybercore, of course, playing it the safe route this entire series as far as that opening goes. I honestly don't even know if one gate or gate into Nexus is in the meta these days. An Adept is on the way now for Clem. Chrono boosting that out. So the same old opening. Probably going to be into the same old blink. I don't see him changing it up now. PROTOSS does seem to have more limited openings in the meta these days. I mean, Terrans go for Ravens so often that DTs aren't really an option. Stargate is an option with the Oracles, but then you kind of lack the muscle of the Twilight openings, so it's cool to see Clem sticking with his bread and butter. And now moving out with that Adept as a Starport is producing. GuMiho goes for his command center on the high ground once more. It is a delayed command center, though, as it is a 1-1-1 opening for GuMiho. Going for those early Marines and Cyclones once more. So Clem not surprised by this at all. And we have got that Twilight Council just about to finish up for Clem. Show me blink. There's the blink. Units are running all over the map as Clem tries to chase down this pesky Reaper. Abyssal is not the best map for Reapers, as it really just takes a Stalker and a unit here to shut them down. So GuMiho hasn't actually really got any information with this Reaper other than this extra gateway up at the front. Maybe he'll see the Robo later on. The Terran player is going for a siege tank, following up that Cyclone. GuMiho has consistently gone for those 8 Marine drops in this match. Looks like this time it is going to be actually just 4 Marines, interestingly enough. Then that Cyclone probably grouping up with this. There's room for a Cyclone friend inside that Medivac, but no, GuMiho is just going for 4 Marines. Weirdly enough. Rallying a few more in a Cyclone across the map, so I guess he's maybe just going to try and bully Clem a little bit. There's those 4 Marines just unloading, though. Meanwhile, GuMiho is moving forward with his Cyclone. And the Reaper going to allow him to catch an Adept, which is a very nice find. Clem moves down the ramp, pulls back his Stalker that gets locked on, retreats up the ramp as GuMiho is bullying him a little bit. We do have that siege tank crossing the map, but oh man, is GuMiho really going to take the words I said as far as those tank pushes out of my mouth? And that's exactly what he's doing. Clem is going to have Blink done momentarily, though, to respond to this, and we've seen how good Clem is with his Blink Stalkers. He's probably going to want to... We'll see if he wants to set up a surround or something like that. GuMiho gets a gateway, which is quite a nice find, though. The tank is on siege. Clem is actually just going to blink on top of this. GuMiho micros the tank, saving it inside the Medivac, so that blink goes wrong for Clem. SCVs do just about save the tank, but now all of a sudden Clem is in a disastrous position. Oh my gosh, that went wrong so fast for Clem. GuMiho microing that tank, preventing it from being picked off, allowing the Stalkers to take more damage. Now 20 probes just got pulled off the line, and man, I think GuMiho may have just got a killer move off. GG gets called just like that. The Terran player turned PROTOSS gets taken out by a Terran tank push, and that was just incredibly fast reaction by GuMiho. That could have gone wrong, that could have gone right. Clem, he was aggressive with his blinks all series, but in the end, that one is the one that really just cost him, as GuMiho takes the series and wins Home Story Cup. Those of you that caught it live, if you're still watching, cool to see that you enjoyed rewatching this awesome series. And yeah, just look at that, the pickup on the tank, the fact that it was unsieged when the blink happened is what cost him. Like, Kun didn't really kill a single thing. He got the tank right at the end, and then it's just like, oh man, that is it. The Stalker's warping in slowly because the pylon was too far to the right as well. Definitely didn't help out with that. And then, yeah, Clem just got bopped. Well done by GuMiho. If he hadn't picked up that tank, or unsieged that tank in time, maybe Clem would have cleaned that up, traded out much better, and the push could have been shut down. The Viking in the mix there was also huge, because, I mean, the Vikings deal a lot of damage to Stalkers, and that was all Clem had. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this cast and you watched all the way to the end, go ahead and press that like button. Leave a comment down below if you want to see more Home Story Cup matches, and if you, want to support these casts, there's links in the description to do that, but you guys know the drill. I'll see you next time. Thanks so much for tuning on in.